Welcome back to MotoringBox. I'm Sean McKellar and you find me here in China. I'm not here for any particular business reason or video, but I thought I'd film a video. I'm here in Shanghai. I'm here in a neighborhood which is kind of what the locals would refer to as a countryside area. It's in the Shanghai city limits, but it's out there. You know, we're out here in the suburbs. It's not a very expensive area, relatively speaking, but Shanghai has a huge adoption of EV vehicles. I mean, we can see this Geely one here. Geely recently redesigned their logo. I am a little bit familiar with their brand, but not so much some of their latest vehicles. I've been to China a few times over the years, probably about 10 or 12 times over the past 15 years or so. And just seeing the change in the market here is just been massive. And yes, the car brands they have here and the models on offer are light years ahead. It sort of feels like the ones we get in Australia are just this sort of, not the cream of the crop, that's for sure. So you can see here, you know, cars which have this green and white gradient number plate, they're EVs, that's another Geely. Regular cars have the blue plates, internal combustion vehicles. But yeah, I'm just in a little residential area here, nothing fancy, but look, we've got a Mercedes SLS just chilling here, looking relatively clean, but you know, nothing fancy. We've got a Roe, that's another local sort of a budget brand. We've got Teslas, I've been here for quite a while now. Regular Mercs and things, but it's interesting, you know, if you went round the clock back about 10 years or so, maybe 15, if you wanted to be cool in China, you drove a black sedan, whether it was a Merc, an Audi, or a BMW. Now, yeah, it's all EVs, and the interesting thing about it is that Teslas, you know, when they were introduced, they were kind of the cool car, you know. But now, with some of these local brands like Li Auto, we've got Geely, we've got BYD, of course, Axion, I think it's called. I'll throw some of the vehicles up on screen. They look absolutely fantastic. And before you even talk about tech, you talk about styling, right? If you wind the clock back, probably 10 years or so, a lot of the big Chinese car brands were still copying European and Japanese designs. You know, there were imitation Jeeps and things like that. Now, the Chinese have kind of leapfrogged everybody. Here's another one here. It's kind of a run-of-the-mill Xpeng, sort of a SUV crossover thingy. Looks all right. But yeah, it's light years ahead of where, yeah, they were just 5 years ago. It is crazy how they've progressed, and they've kind of turned into the leaders, especially, you know, the cars look good. They are actually built extremely well too. When you go in rideshare cars around here, you get to sample everything as a passenger. You're riding in cars with sort of 50, 100,000 kilometers. They feel tight as a drum. They're comfortable, they're quiet. Yeah, it's hard not to become a fan. I'm not a fan of EVs ordinarily, but I think it comes back to where I live, Australia. It's still kind of not a proposition that makes sense to own one unless you've got money to burn. So here, you know, they're relatively cheap. In Shanghai especially, there's incentives, registration incentives to run an EV. Here's a Maxus, look at that, people mover. Looks pretty slick. And yes, if you buy an EV in Shanghai, you get cheaper rego. You know, it's a much more enticing proposition than just getting a normal internal combustion engine vehicle. The roads and the infrastructure here is built to handle it. They don't do it like Australia does it. Australia has really lagged behind with, you know, offering a proper charging infrastructure. You know, if you go to your local Costco or, I don't know, any sort of newly developed car park, there might be a few chargers, like 2 or 3 or maybe 5 maximum. Here, they're everywhere. So if you want a charger, they're not hard to find. You know, housing developments, like you can see all these towers around me here, they all have their own car parks in the bottom. And those car parks have, you know, clusters of chargers there as well. So you can see there's probably about 20 buildings in my line of sight just in front of me here at the moment. Every one of them, you know, has their own car park and bunch of chargers and everything. So you take your EV home, you charge it up, And yeah, you don't really have to charge when you're out and about. So that makes sense. You know, they've really built everything to suit the EVs. You don't buy an EV here and then wait for the infrastructure to catch up like it does in Australia. It's already there, it's ready to use. Here as well, you can see, I'm not sure what brand that bus is, but it's an electric bus. It's how quiet it is. All you can hear is some kind of a compressor in the back. It's probably for the brakes or something. Otherwise, perfectly quiet. When I first came here, I think it was 2008. Yeah, so nearly 20 years ago. And the environment back then was radically different to what it looks like today. You know, back then, you never saw blue skies. And I mean, look at the sky today. It looks like it does in Australia. The fact that a lot of vehicles are now EVs, and including the buses is another one, it's made a massive difference. I think industries like manufacturing has cleaned up their game as well. It's not just the vehicles, obviously, and it depends on what area of China you're into. Scooters as well, like a lot of these used to be petrol, now they're all electric. Not a single scooter here going past me runs on petrol, they're all electric. The other thing about China that I actually really like is their public transport system too. You could quite happily live here and not own a car. Even in the suburb that I'm in, which is about 15 kilometers from the CBD, there are high-speed trains. There's a massive subway network. It is crazy. I'll put the map on screen. It's like, I even don't know how many lines they have these days. They're building lines every year. So every time you come back here, there's new lines open. There's even a new high-speed airport line, which runs from the Shanghai Pudong airport all the way around to the airport on the west. It connects the two of them, runs through a whole lot of suburbs. It is crazy. If you want to go to another city, I went to Ningbo recently. It's about 300 kilometers away. You'd expect that to be probably a 3-hour drive at least. On the train, it's like 1.5 hours. That train goes 300 kilometers an hour. It's just a regular train. It's not even a fancy high-speed thing that you pay extra for. That's just normal. So yes, in that example, driving city to city doesn't make sense. So things like that, you know, very high capacity, very long trains, something like 14 carriages. Yeah, it's taking cars off the road. You know, flights are cheap. Obviously, you can fly as well, but when the trains are so good, if you're only going a couple of 100 kilometers, planes don't make sense either. So yeah, that's it guys. I'm going to be back in Australia soon. I will be by the time you see this. Back on the AU Falcon Turbo. We are about to throw an exhaust on that and get that thing back on the road, get it tuned. Very excited about that. But yeah, it's interesting. Being in an environment like this, it suddenly makes what I'm doing look very archaic. You know, there's nothing like that happening here. I think a lot of the rules here when it comes to cars and modifying them, I think it's extremely strict, and that's where that whole ricer kind of thing came from. I don't think it came from Japan, I think it came from here, to be honest, because you can't really modify cars here without getting in trouble, I think. You know, you'd have to put them back to stock if the police caught you, and that's why people express themselves with graphics and stickers and things like that. It's all visual, it's not sort of mechanical. So yeah, what I do in Australia is very different. You couldn't do that here. It makes you glad that you have that freedom, but at the same time, the living costs in Australia are just insane these days. And when you see how cheap things are here, guess you're feeling a little bit depressed. But anyway, I'll be back there shortly. I'll catch you guys there. I hope you liked the video. Put your comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you next time.